Hello? That should be working now. Can someone in the chat just confirm that it is? Because that should be. Jim, can you say something? Jim, have I lost you now? We're off to a great start. Jim, are you talking? I can see you talking on Discord, but it's not coming through.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. There you go. And everybody
I could hear you the whole time. No idea if anyone else could.
Right, the mixers are telling me that.
So let's restart this. Hello, everyone.
Can they hear us?
Can you hear us? If so, please comment in the chat. AD's in there commenting away. Welcome to another live stream. The topic is wood. You can hear both of us, AD, I'm hoping. And you were just saying that you basically tried to replicate a Wraithbone primer on the one on the left.
Yeah, so this one we're going to try and do to a sort of a very simple way of doing some quick tabletop models. I'm hoping to still keep it looking reasonably good, but done in a simple way that anyone can pretty much follow along. These two then have been both primed black and then Zenithal highlighted. Zenithal primed really is less of a highlight, perhaps a bit more focused on this one. With white, I'm planning on trying to then do one sort of a medium tabletop, sort of advanced tabletop, and then maybe if I have time and I can actually think what I'm going to do, a display at least on one of the planks over here. The only issue really is that these sculpts, they're very, very well defined, which also almost paints themselves from a display point of view. I wouldn't really need to do too much more than what I would do on this one, because they're very well sculpted, very clearly defined, so it's very simple in terms of dry brushing.
Yeah, we were saying before we started streaming that if there's any like angles on them where there's not much detail, you could maybe show how you could try and make that look,
the underneath is almost completely plain. I could do like freehand wood if I mean these they're either plain or they're sculpted the same. We'll see how we get on. I think if I can do this still without going too what am I trying to say? Without keeping it too complicated and too many layers, I still think we could get this to a very good level where you'd be happy enough to use it on a display piece as well as for tabletop without making it too complicated.
Excellent.
Okay.
Cool.
So to start with, we'll do the tabletop one. Now, I've only ever painted one thing wood. I actually looked through my models to see what I had, and the only thing I have is this guy here. And this was kind of done with just an experiment as well, so it wasn't that focused. But we'll see how we get on. I'm making excuses already. Just in case.
Before we do get started, just looking at your palette there.
Yes.
What
I knew I was going to get comments on it.
This doesn't look like a Christmas tree.
No, so Christmas is gone now. So we used up all our Christmas tissue, and instead we have selections of vegetables.
Oh, okay, right, yeah, that's fine.
That's two. So the exposure's not showing it. Okay, so you've got your carrots on there, parsnips.
Oh wow.
Artichoke.
Excellent.
I will try and go shopping next time. We need to get some and get a blank one.
Well, this is a good time for us to really get on the marketing side of things.
Get some Games Bunker ones.
If people want to, well, no, I was just thinking, if people want to help support the stream and stuff, they could maybe just go on Amazon. And although they'd need to know your address, which is probably something you wouldn't want to show, we could just send you some really plain white paper.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
please.
Because it's obviously too much for you. Yeah, donate now, everyone, please. Yeah. Right, carry on.
So the first thing I'm going to try and play with the color a bit more, as I said, to try and still keep it interesting. So the way I'm going to approach this really is a few washes to start with of different colors. Like when you look at wood, there, the colors it can be is almost endless depending on its environment, how old it is, etc., etc. So people tend to think of just brown, but I was looking through some reference photos today, and when you like pull out the colors, they really are like there was blues in there, there was greens, greys, reds, and even
I imagine there's a lot of green actually. Yeah,
a lot more than you'd realize, even when you look at it. I can actually just if I just no, I won't do that. I was going to bring some up, but I'd have to show you everything. It'd take too long.
We don't want to see your search history, do we? No.
Oh, now you've made me feel. Oh wow! Now you're making me feel guilty.
Oh, what have you done? Welcome to the mirror world.
So you can see here all the different colours we can get. This is just.
That's almost exactly the same search I did when I was trying to find a picture for. Yeah.
But yeah, like these are all blues in here. These are greens. There's lots of different colours, and then even when you just go for the traditional brownies, there's black, blacks, browns, reds, oranges, all kinds of different colours. So let me try and bring that back up without. Is that all back to normal for everyone?
Looks fine to me.
I hope it is. So to start with, I'm going to put a few washes down. I'll probably start with the darkest. Probably start with the darkest ones. I'll be thinning them because what I'm trying to do is build up sort of variations of colours that are they're there but not really sticking out, if that makes sense. They're sort of very subtle.
This kind of, these shades are good because they over large areas they can be quite patchy, can't they? So is that something you're going to make the most of? Or?
No, it's something I'm going to be trying to avoid, which shouldn't be too bad, especially if you thin them. I think thinning them especially is a good way of avoiding that. I've never really had an issue when they're thinned with water or indeed with medium. It's more that I quite like, obviously they're designed to settle in the valleys. The surface tension is low.
Yeah.
And I can move them around the panels quite easily without them drying or ripping, and I can mix them into the other colours. And because shades are sort of semi-transparent as well, they also will show each layer through, because I want to create a a feeling of lots of age to the wood, and a good way of doing that is just having lots of different variations that are very subtle at the same time. Your eye will recognize them, but you won't necessarily know they're there, if that makes sense. Excuse my dirty hands. I'm afraid I only primed these about half an hour ago. Running quite late as normal.
So this is it Quelea Green Shade, this one? Or
sorry, this is Agrax.
Oh, I completely didn't read the label properly at all.
My colours, I still haven't. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix the colours without changing my camera.
No, it wasn't that. I just because I've got a little mini view screen on mine. I kind of just guessed what the colour could be.
And then I wanted a green one, but I haven't got a green one, which is a bit annoying. I do have one, but I couldn't find it. I wanted to go for an older kind of wood.
Aged.
Yeah. But instead we'll go for it's still going to be aged, but we'll go for a yellowy, reddy. So this is Seraphim Sepia.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm going to use some Vallejo red wash. I don't like these, but I haven't got a red. GW.
Why don't you like them?
I don't know. To be fair, I bought them years ago, years ago, and I didn't like them when I tried them, so I never used them again.
So you might fall in love with it.
I don't think so. Looking at that, I mean, for a wash, it's coming out. You see, it's very. You see how that flows. This one, it's got a gel-like consistency. So I'm just going to thin these with water. I'm not being too scientific about it. I'm just thinning the Agrax a bit more because obviously it's a very strong colour.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to... I'm looking to just start to get some definition on here. Really?
So yeah, it's quite thin going on at the moment.
Yeah, it's very, very thin.
As someone who's in the years past has done a lot of army painting, that's not how you use Agrax. You just
it should be. Yeah,
You should blend all of the colours together to make your army look more Agraxy. Yeah, I think that's what they're intended for anyway. You're just using your artistic talent.
I'm using it to get a colour variation. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, this probably won't be shown, won't be showing up, but I just want it to be there, and it's just
kind of help guide you as well.
Yeah.
Nope. Had a bit of a skip out there.
Did you? Not missing much really. I'm just so I'm putting another. It's still wet, but I'm just putting more on towards the edges.
Mm-hmm. Is that because it would be lighter where people have walked over it and stuff? You think, or
just I need a bit of contrast, and yeah, I suppose so. It makes more sense for it to be on the edges now. It depends. I mean, you could say should be more dirty in the middle. If it was in a dirty environment, I mean, wood really takes on its environment more so than most sort of surfaces. It's going to take a while to dry. Didn't think about that because same with contrast, when it's going to take a while to dry.
Yeah. You need one of those silent hair dryers.
I haven't seen a silent one. Is there a silent one?
I'll tell you what does work actually. Bit of advice for everyone. If you've got a halogen heater, they dry paint quite nicely, but they also eat your electric. So.
I should just put it next to the fans for my computer.
You just melt the whole model.
I'm going to have to let that dry. It's a bit annoying. I didn't think about that, sorry. But I'm going to keep putting
whilst that drying, you could... could you maybe do a bit on one of the others? Or
yeah, so I'll do something similar to this one.
Color on, if you're going to do that same sort of technique on some of the others,
Yeah. Just thinking what I could do different. So this one I'm going to start off with contrast, actually. Or am I? No, I'm not. I'm going to dry brush. Oh, I didn't get extra tissue. Okay, I've got a piece here. So I'm going to, and I didn't bring my ivory as well. That wasn't very clever. So I'm going to dry brush this. So I'm not as well prepared.
Oh, terrible.
It's shocking, isn't it? And I was
Losing
going to use
viewers.
ivory.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm using Game Air Vallejo Bone White. Similar enough to ivory. It's just obviously a little bit thicker. I have 2 dry brushes. I don't dry brush that often. And I use makeup brushes. I've got 2 types. This one is a bit more stiff, and it's for kind of detailed dry brushing, if you like. This one's softer, and it's obviously quite hard to be detailed with it. And if I'm looking to create sort of use dry brushing to create a variation and a texture, this one's better. A texture on a flat surface, let's say, like stippling. But I'll be using this one. Now, I'm not very good at dry brushing, so if I get it completely wrong, you can judge me all you want.
I did once hold the title of Dry Brush King. Self-awarded, but you know.
So I'm just trying to get as much of the paint off as I can. Because I'm not very good at it, I always prefer to almost be...
I would normally run it till basically there's nothing coming off of it on the paper or cardboard or whatever.
Do it on the wrinkles on my fingers, and that'll sort of tell me if it's working. It's probably not showing up for you guys much at all. But as I say, I'd rather have to do this a couple of times than just go too heavy at once and ruin it.
I find with dry brushing, there's a real kind of you get a really good feeling when you do it right, because it just kind of starts, the details just start lifting a little bit, you know.
I mean, with this one, because the way I've airbrushed it, it's with the priming, it's just showing up all the details already quite well. But I just wanted to make the very sharper edges really jam out more for the contrast. So I almost haven't got a edge highlighted. I really think contrast is great, but it really comes together when you use a dry brush first and just let it show on. Let it show through.
I think contrast is one of those paints that many people will not really get the benefit of for a long time, just because they won't think of the different methods you could use. So it's not as simple as the way it's put across by GW.
No, I think they are. Yeah, they need to.
I mean, I know they changed their the way in their videos they use it for different things now instead of what they did to start with. But definitely when it first released, it was like just slap it on and there you are, your model's done. You know.
Yeah.
But I think it's a much more useful tool than that. Really, you can get some really nice finishes. I mean, you obviously you just have to look at some of the like Golden Demon painters that are like, I did this with contrast, and you just
you saw them,
yeah.
My blue tank's coming unstuck. I might try something interesting here. So I'm thinking with this one, I'm going to go for a sort of warm, rich red, reddy brown. I'm going to try and make this one look almost like a greeny, swampy kind of wood.
Okay, so water's it, or and like not clean water, like algae and stuff.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah. I probably should have desaturated this a little bit, to be honest. But we'll see. And I'm deliberately not sort of getting everywhere. How's that doing? Still wet.
It's looking interesting. Is that one still wet?
Yeah, it's still wet. So next I'm going to go straight with the contrast. Now I don't know the colours of contrast very well.
Okay.
I have Wildwood. Yeah, I have Wildwood.
Wildwood's a very dark
Ultramarines blue.
So that is snakebite leather.
Snakebite leather, yeah.
Yeah.
I have Grunter.
Ghoul
Fur.
Grunter. Yeah, so that's like a kind of mid-tone brown.
Skeleton Horde.
That's pale. That is super. That's a bone.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't look like. And is that all of them? Yeah, and that's it. I've got Gryph-hound Orange, which I'm assuming is orange. It looks, maybe it just needs a mix.
It is, yeah. It's not used a huge amount, but it is orange.
And then I got Militarum Green.
That is
obviously green, but I'm just.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think what the pigment. I've used a lot of Creed Camo, which is quite almost like a US green. Quite light. I think Minotaurum's a bit darker.
The green to start with, and then.
But it's not as dark as like a Dark Angel sort of green. It's a bit.
Depending on how I like the look of it, I might go over it with either a Agrax to bring it to more sort of browny, or a contrast, depending on how strong I feel it needs to come down. So I'm going to thin this because this is something I just want to influence the color. I don't really want to. I'm not trying to do the traditional color. What am I trying to say? Sort of contrast and use.
No. You don't want the full effect.
No, I just want this to. It's probably not enough, but we'll see. I'm going to do the same sort of thing. I'm going to be going in this direction from the middles. And try and leave obviously more at the edges. I'm using a really poor, just a cheap brush I picked up from, I don't know, somewhere. It's a flathead brush, which is great for big panels like this. It helps me avoid brush strokes and stuff like that and cover more smoothly. Again, I'm not trying to cover everywhere.
Nice
now, to be fair, for these sculpts, really, I should have looked at these sooner. These are not great ones to show people how to paint wood because they really do paint themselves. And then when you couple that with contrast and dry brushing, you're really done well. It's very nice. Good job, DW, I suppose.
Their terrain sets are very well thought out, actually. Yeah, like the way they like figure out. They think a lot about like the scales of everything and how it interacts with each other and stuff like that. It's good.
So I'm going to try some orange now over this one. Similar theory to the green. I want the green to show through just a little bit on the other one, and this one I want the orange to show through. I almost want it to go a little bit yellow, or like what's the word? Like a very light orange shining through. I'm being naughty there and putting my brush in medium without washing it off.
Ugh.
Dirty boy.
Forever tainted.
That's not going to work.
What have you got as your what are you on at the moment? What's your big surface? Because it looks like you're leaving.
I am. It's a little bit of foam.
I thought it would be something like that. Yeah, it's like polystyrene or something. Yeah. It's good actually because the light doesn't glare off of it too much.
Yeah. Okay, that's not really as nice as I wanted. And I think with the way it's going, what I might just do is show different variations of doing wood rather than try and show different ways, because these two they're going to end up very similar in techniques, just maybe more on one than the other.
Color will be different, but the process is the same.
Yeah, apart from going over them with a edge highlight, which I can go through over any of them again, which it's almost not going to be, with this sort of way of doing it, it's almost not needed. So this one I'm going to do a yellowy grey, except I haven't got a yellow. But I'm going to use...
So how are you going to do that?
Magic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, start with black. And just pull the yellow out of it.
My Seraphim Sepia, and I'm just going to use it neat. And hopefully that'll turn it a little bit yellow to start with. Not as yellow, but it helps if I do it on camera. Yeah. Again, I'm not worried about it being overly even, but I don't want big splodges. But I do want, yeah, I do want good bits of variation. I just don't want it pooling. Okay. Yeah, it's when I'm closing my lid, it's snapping them down.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this one now I'm going to go over with some wild, what's it called, the dark one?
Wildwood, yeah.
Wildwood, where is it? That one. I'm tempted to add a little bit of red into it, but I'm not going to because that's what this one's for. Because this is quite dark, I'm going to thin it a little bit. It looks very dark on the palette.
It is very dark, yeah.
I'm actually going to add a little bit of red to it, I think. I will. Oh, you know, I'm going to add some of the orange. I've got it here. It's just, it's hard to tell with contrast really what the colour is because it doesn't separate, but it looks a little bit too real dark brown from here.
So,
yeah, that's better.
would you be able to apply these kind of techniques to something that isn't textured? So if you,
I think it would be difficult.
You
probably could. I think it would be difficult to avoid pooling a little bit more. But essentially, what I'm doing is I'm glazing with shades, so you can build up different variations and stuff using just glazes. I think from the way this is going on, I was going to thin it. The way I've spread it over here, I don't think I'm going to. My underlayer is still a little bit wet, but I'm going to do it.
Just going for it anyway. Yeah.
No, I'm quite happy with that, actually. You see how I know I'm not doing the sort of the thick layer that GW say to do, but you can see how the green's coming through.
It's a very strong colour though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wildwood, so.
I'm quite happy with that. I was a bit unsure how that real bright green dry brush was going to come out, but same thing again. I'm just going to put an extra little bit on the edges. Pretty happy with that.
Very wood-like.
This one's still a bit wet. I'm going to try this. I don't think I'm going to mix up some orange, which I don't actually have an orange in front of me for some reason, and I'm going to dry brush that as well. Oh, my yellow's exploding on me. It's going to flick up all over my monitor like last time. It's going to be, I don't want it to be a real, what's the word? Like a strong bright orange. I want it needs to be quite dirty and desaturated, which I will do by adding some contrast in. It's probably not enough. Okay. I probably haven't mixed enough to dry brush, but the paint's still wet. The contrast and the wash or whatever it was I put on.
Was it Agrax on this one, or did you?
This one I used a bit of everything. No, this one I used red.
well. Yeah.
Sepia. The sepia one is here. This is pure sepia. This one had, quite a few different things.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I didn't take into consideration the drying time. This one's dried quite quickly though. It's nearly there. Just trying to take some of the. I'm actually trying to take some of the paint off in the middles. By doing
kind of irregular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got blue tack in the middle. Yeah, it's stuck on somehow. What I might just do is take some of my chestnut ink. Yeah. It's one of my favourite colours ever. And I'm going to fill in there's some sort of...
So don't let that sea green here, you say that.
Fill in some of these cuts, if you like, in the wood. Because I was using the contrast kind of not thick, it hasn't really seeped into. So I'll just do them manually.
So are those actual like cracks and things like that in the sculpt?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you were looking to do tabletop, you could just give this a heavier wash and it wouldn't really be a problem. I might be giving it a heavy wash here anyway, depending on how it progresses.
Oops, so we got a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Will we be covering anything like that sort of would affect you? Do you want a spear shaft?
Today?
Mm.
I haven't got any models with a spear shaft. So it would be quite difficult to do.
It's probably a no then.
Yeah, sorry. Is that what people were looking for? Have I misunderstood when they asked for wood?
It's a possibility. I don't know. Any shaft will do, apparently. As long as it's wood.
Zip.
No, none of that now. Is there any part of like the underside of the model you could kind of give a brief show on or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the shaft is... I'm just trying to think, like, what... When you say shaft, like, what are you looking for from the shaft? Because it's... A shaft on a 32mm figure is...
Especially so if you were going to... Would you be painting, like, the grain lines or anything like that?
If it has it sculpted in, I'd be doing it exactly the same as this.
Hmm.
If it doesn't, then I normally wouldn't. Like, okay. If I show you this guy again.
So how would you make a smooth spear shaft look like it's wood then, apart from just the color choice?
Honestly, if it was just a 32mm shaft like this here, I would just leave it wood color. Now this has little bits. If I can get it to focus, it has little bits here. You can see that are grained in, sculpted in. Sorry, the grain. But for the most part, I've just dry brushed it here because it doesn't actually have the grain sculpted in.
Would you say you just kind of try and create a bit of texture with the dry brush then? Or
if there was nothing there, I would almost leave it plain for a 32mm. If you want to try and put texture to it, I would dry brush rather than actually try and paint in by hand the lines. Because it's quite difficult to do. Like here,
do you think if you paint the lines on that scale, you just end up with it looks unrealistic?
I think it's very hard to look right. Yeah, very hard to look right. Sorry, I know that's not much use. But yeah, for me, I don't think it's. I haven't. I never finished the back. I should turn that around. Look, I never finished the back. Can you believe that? How long?
What a shocker! How many of your models are like that?
So it looks bad, so bad.
Ultron, just like that. So I mean, I think when I've done spears and things like that before, it is generally just that down to a matter of using wood light browns and things, and using shades, and trying not make that look the focus of your model as well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very often you're going to want the wooden shaft of a spear to be the focus. I mean, maybe if a character had a wooden shield and it was plain, then that's something you'd need to look at freehanding, and that's something we can maybe do in a different video. But you'd imagine most shields are going to have it sculpted in at least some form or another.
Yeah, most, and like, I mean, obviously not all models are historically accurate or anything, but I think if you look back in history, if you're looking at real shields, they normally would have like a canvas cover or something like that. So yeah, if you're going to have wood poking through, it'd probably be like through a tear in canvas and things. I don't know. I'm sure there's loads of models that are just bare wood shields now.
Yeah,
just probably. Flat.
Yeah. But yeah, I really wouldn't be trying to paint too much in terms of trying to make it look like wood. Apart from what's sculpted, I would follow the sculpt.
Focus more on like the head of the weapon, or
Yeah, I mean, you don't want the spear to be just plain brown. Like, I would try and leave some form of gradient in there. So to where his hand is holding, maybe or towards his head, I'd try to have it lighter and darker towards the bottom. I actually haven't done it on this model, but in theory I should have. This was painted quite a few years ago now. I can't remember when, but I should have really made this bit a bit darker and then had the light coming down here to draw attention to this bit.
So would you do that mostly with just like building up of shades and stuff like glazes and things, or?
It would depend. If it was just a spear on, say, a normal treatment, I'd probably just very quickly wet blend it. If I was going for something a bit more fancy, I'd paint it almost like this, and then just as normal, and then just do a glaze up, going away from the centerpiece of the model. But I think a good rule of thumb is to paint it however it's sculpted.
I think most of the new sculpts now are pretty good at.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it depends on the model, but if you're looking at Games Workshop models, a lot of their new Age of Sigmar stuff, there aren't many plain looking weapons.
Yeah, I mean this.
But
this is fairly well sculpted. There was a couple of places I've put a freehand line in, but it's quite a big flat chunk. Like I'm doing freehand sort of cracks and the grain on something that's round and quite small as a spear. I would imagine would be very tricky. It wouldn't be something I would attempt, to be honest. If I wanted to make it stand out, I don't know. I'd have to seriously think about it. Sorry, I know that's not much help. But yeah, I generally stick to how it's sculpted. So if it's got texture on it, then you can just wash and dry brush, or if you want, you could layer it like I did here. If it's sparse. But if it's sculpted like this, then I would definitely be just dry brushing and washing it. It looks just as good as you'd be able to get it by freehand, if not better sometimes, because of the way you can get it to sort of naturally vary. Okay, so onto this one.
Has that given us drying time is the question.
Some of it is still wet, actually. It's still wet in places. You know what I'm going to do is, because I want this one to be brownier, I'm going to put some of that chestnut ink over it, because I know how this handles more than I know how the contrast handles, so I'm a bit more confident with it. And then I'm going to just take a wet brush and then just feather the stuff into the middle, so it'll be a little bit not as strong in the middle. And then I'm going to be somehow doing something with green on it to bring back some of the green.
Yeah, a lot of that's disappeared, isn't it, really?
As it dries, it'll show through. You can see it already here.
Yeah.
As it dries, it'll show up a lot more. The wetness hides it. And then this one, I'm going to give it another coat of the Wildwood, which I've used up. Not another coat, the first coat. Just deciding whether to do that or whether to do Agrax. I'm going to do Agrax first, because if I do a too thick coat of the contrast, I kind of feel like it's going to be difficult to fix. Whereas with Agrax, it's going to be almost impossible to do too thick a coat over something this light, without, unless I leave it, let it pool like that.
Yeah.
Which obviously I'm not going to. So this one I need to start building up. I still haven't really decided the kind of colour. I'm tempted to almost head towards a grey, like we were looking at those reference pictures, like a.
It looks actually quite good like that.
Like a driftwood kind of colour, but we do need a little bit more definition in the cracks in places.
It's got a kind of looks like kind of the old west kind of look.
Yeah, like either a dried desert or. So I'm just
not that I've been there. I mean, it's just purely fiction in films that I've seen.
I don't think I've ever used that one the way it opened. I'm tempted to use this. What's
the worst that can
happen? Skeleton Horde.
Oh, that is very light.
It might not do anything. We'll see.
I don't think I've used it more than a couple of times. So it's so it will still be dark in. Well, I say dark in the recess, but on the top surface, it's very pale.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want. So again, I've just left that middle, and then I'm just gonna come through and feather it out, just to keep it dark. I might actually give it another little bit more in the edges, on the end. Sorry.
Just on the tips.
Yep, just the tip. Contrast doesn't taste very nice.
No,
I've also used this brush for oil paints. I think that's what I'm tasting.
No, you're not wrong though. Contrast doesn't taste nice, but.
Okay. So I haven't really got a contrast color that's the kind of color I want for this. I want almost like a mahogany, which funnily enough, I have mahogany brown here, this is a bit more red than what I'd like. What I'm thinking of. I'm going to mix a little bit of that in with my chestnut ink to try and get the color I want. Okay. I don't know how this is going to work. I'm going to add some contrast medium to it. Try and make a contrast color that I want. And really, when you've got anything that you're trying to make look natural and old, or old, I suppose, the more you can build up layers of different tones, different variation, the more it will look believable. It is very hard to do that. There are obviously people that can do it, but it's very hard to do it sort of deliberately. It's much easier just to do it like this and build up different layers. Yeah, no, I quite like the way the red's showing through. I quite like how I went heavy with the dry brush here, and it's kind of I wish I did that a bit more everywhere. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to start actually doing some brushwork now, and start just giving it some edge highlights. Except I didn't bring my ivory, and I don't actually know where it was. So I'm going to use the Skull White. I'm going to add a touch of green into it. This is US Drab, I think it's called, olive drab. Slightly off camera. Just make a gradient, and I'm just going to add a little bit of
So when you
thanks.
say you're going to edge highlight now, are you going to? I'm assuming you don't mean every single line across the wood. You just mean like the edges of the boards.
Yeah, the edge of the board, just to get them to stand out a little. I'll put way too much in there. That's annoying. Way too much of the brownie red, which we can desaturate and take away by adding green.
This isn't the Flesh video, Rich.
So again, with anything textured, I don't want to do like a perfect edge highlight, so I'm just gonna come along and just vary the thickness, the how regular I'm placing the lines. I really am not trying to, it's not like I'm edge highlighting a Space Marine shoulder pad or something. I want to try and get it as random and as varied as possible. So sometimes I'll do like little dots, like stippling on the edge. Sometimes I will do a neat line. You just want to make it broken, and if you imagine you had all this texture and then you do like perfect square edge highlights around it, it would just look completely out of place. Which is quite good, because if you find edge highlighting difficult, it's quite nice and quite freeing to just be able to chuck some paint on the edges and not really worry about how it looks.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of edge highlighting, like having to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the effect.
It works really well. It's not something that you can do quickly, unfortunately.
No.
A bit too thick.
Just looking at the one you've got right at the top, that kind of, like we said, that almost dead wood.
Yeah.
It's looking really good on camera.
I'd be pleased enough with any of them, to be honest, at the moment. I might use these for a base or something. I don't know what. We actually on what's his name, the Sea Dude's base. He's got a ship, hasn't he? I can try and remember this for then. Yeah. I'm sure he's.
that one would look nice, I think.
I'm undecided yet if I'm going to paint him as if the base is underwater or not.
I'd love to see it, but yeah. So you'd have like the kind of the light reflections coming through. And...
I don't know if I'd go that far, but more like in terms of just keeping the tones. I'm just I don't just keeping the tones blue green.
I've seen people like they've done like the lines where the light's hitting the leaves or whatever above. I don't know what creates them really.
No, I've seen that as well, but it's yes, it might be. I don't know. I'll see when I get there. If
still a long way to go.
Yeah, I don't like using the airbrush paints for edge highlighting. They flow too easily.
Refraction we have in the chat. That is probably
right.
the right word. Oh, it's definitely the right word for water, light passing through an object, but it's I don't know if there's a name for the way that light does that under the ocean.
So I could, if I wanted to, I could do in a couple of areas, like some of these, pick out some of the higher ridges as well. Yeah, not just the scratches, but some of the ridges I could like try and make it look like maybe they've been worn down a little bit more than others.
Thanks, AD. We got in the chat deep sea refraction. Probably, yeah.
He Googled it, did he?
I don't know. There's a question mark at the end, so
Probably not then.
I'm not going to remember what it is anyway because I don't think I actually know the name of the term. So we'll go with deep sea refraction for now.
Yeah, we all know what we mean.
Hmm.
And that's the important thing. You see how the ink's made it quite shiny. Well, it's not actually showing up on my camera. The ink has made it very, very glossy, which is something that inks tend to do.
Yeah, there is like a sheen to it. Yeah.
It's just making it a bit hard to pick out some of how it's looking, but I'm quite happy. I think I'm gonna give it another bit more ink though on the edges, on the sort of towards the outsides of it,
ends of the boards.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess is it? I think you'd normally have it darker there because that's where stuff's getting into the grain.
I expect so. Yeah.
In. Yeah. Maybe.
And probably along here, there's less of a grain because it's been worn down by people walking. Okay. So this is the contrast mix, which I'm putting more of the paint in because when I did the first layer, it didn't really have the same amount of effect as I would like.
That definitely looks like a fence. That kind of
the
color of it.
And this is what I quite like about wood, is you could almost make this whatever color you need to match what you're doing with your model. You can make it look any way you want it, really. Let's make these quite dark, actually. And then this one. There's a part of me that really wants to go over this with blue, but I don't think that's going to work right.
I kind of like the color of that, to be honest. Well, I do like it. I'm just trying to think what it reminds me of, but
let's see what colors we got.
It looks a bit like a shed at a DayZ.
That's way too strong. Okay. What's Dark Oath Flesh like?
That is the skin tone, but it's kind of a yellowy skin tone, I guess, yellowy brown. Okay. It's not. Whereas the other ones have got more like red in them.
Just putting a touch of blue into it. I don't know why, but I want blue in there. I think because of the references I was looking at earlier. Sorry?
You're obsessed.
So this one I'm just going to do on the edges again. I've thinned it quite a bit, so I don't think it's going to do a huge amount, apart from just to darken it a little bit.
Lovely.
With a wet brush, I'm just feathering out those edges. Just deciding now. I think I'm going to leave it. I was going to do another coat of something a bit more browny, but then it's going to shift it towards this. So I think I'm going to leave it like that and just start edge highlighting it as well.
I think it's going to make a more noticeable difference on this one.
Yeah.
The edge highlight.
To be fair, because the edge, the way I've used contrast and it's been dry brush and everything there, unless I go really bright with the edge highlight, it's not gonna really stand out much at all anyway. So on here, I don't really want to do a full edge highlight because obviously you've got the grains. So I really need to try and be quite rough on these edges. There's sort of face in the grain. Sticky. Oh, while I was digging through all my paints, I found some of the blood paint, whatever it is. I should put some blood spatters on these.
Blood for the Blood God. Oh, yes. As a Khorne player, you should just have loads of that everywhere, shouldn't you? Or are you one of those that you like the realism of your own blood going on the model?
Exactly. If it's not real blood, it doesn't count. I obviously never done
that. Not deliberately.
There's been no bodily fluids on any of my my models.
I think I've cut myself when I don't know, clearing off a mold line with a knife or something like that before, and I've got blood on a model then, but
I for sure.
I don't leave. I clean it off.
I for sure spiked myself on something. I can't remember what it was, but it was quite bad.
Got to be like Chaos Rhino or something.
There was a spike on a model, like a broken bit of a model. I can't remember now, but I know I cut my wrist on one of the bits of scenery at the bunker.
And thanks for telling everyone live. You know,
oh, it's my own fault. It's fine.
Our terrain isn't safe. Yeah,
terrain isn't safe. It doesn't give enough of a cover safe.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some of the older kits. I think it was the old city stuff.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of like spiky bits coming off of the like low walls and stuff that you stick on the roofs. Yeah, so it's probably off of that. That's why I make everyone sign a disclaimer now. You know?
It's all my fault. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Any limbs lost whilst gaming, you know. Did Jim sue? We've got in the chat. Yeah, I should have done actually. This is why painting actually is to make up for the damage to the terrain.
The damage to the terrain, yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, like back when I used to have a lot of metal models, I've like stabbed myself with spears and things, and I've been like pick them up off the table. And if you go back far enough, like the original, well, they're probably not the originals, but one of the early Goblin plastics, which is when it was like goblins and high elves in a starter set. I think it might be 2nd or 3rd edition fantasy, something like that. But the goblin spears are really, really pointy. They're tiny little things as well, but yeah, you could really hurt yourself on those.
It's quite lucky I didn't have to do too much with metal models.
Oh.
I had a bad one when he first came out, but I think that was, and I had a bloodletter.
That was the old thing with the bad, and his arms always used to fall off.
Yeah, I didn't have that problem, but oh, look at that. Slipped then. Never mind. Luckily, I was on the edge anyway. That's the most annoying thing when that happens and you're doing something really fiddly and you get it everywhere.
Mm.
That's why you shouldn't paint on the edge of your desk like I am. I'm just trying to pick out all these scratches, and then I'll go inside them then afterwards with the ink, or maybe some Agrax just to darken them, the insides of them. I think I've got most of them, but I'm quite pleased with how that's looking as well. In fact, I think I've got all of them in it already. That's another one there. Doesn't want to come off my brush for some reason. Okay. Let's use the ink. So I'll just fill in the deeper gaps where I lost some of the definition. And along this edge here where they're actually joined together, I'm just going to run it as well.
So are you going to be watching the GW preview show, or I think it's a preview show or reveal on Saturday?
I didn't know there was one.
Oh.
I'm well out of the loop with GW. Until I hear Angron, I'm not going to even pay attention.
Oh, you'll hear him coming. He screams real loud, apparently. Yeah.
That's what it's going to take to get me back into it. I tell you, it's going
to. Death and Decadence or something. No, it's not. Death and something. It's obviously I've paid a lot of attention to it. So it's Vampire Pirates for Undead, or just Vampire.
Take it then, is it?
Yeah. And there's going to be some new Lumineth stuff, which has been accidentally leaked.
Who are Lumineth?
Lumineth are the kind of the high elves, basically.
Okay.
They're the big hats and the Cow Mountain Titan thing. So they're all like archers, spearmen, stuff like that. But they've got some new leaks that came out, so they've then done a proper announcement for it, which is like kangaroo archers. So yeah. So there's a show for that on Saturday. So.
I didn't know that was there. No. I probably won't, to tell you the truth. Unfortunately, I'd love to say I would, but I don't think I'll have the time. Okay. So I'm quite pleased with these two and the direction they're going. You could almost say they're done. This one I need to do a bit more with the cracks and edge highlighting. I think this one I'm in an hour in which direction I want to go, and I think I might just take it one step darker on the edges again and then come with the edge highlighting again.
See, that's my favourite one of the three, actually.
I think it will be nice. I'm just unsure.
You need to finish it,
it's not as well finished as the others. Like, I like the tone. I think it's quite good, but it's not as well finished as the others. And I just need to figure out how to do that without losing the tone. And I'm just going to do a little bit more on the edges. Oh, don't make me mix some more up, please. I don't want to have to do that. Okay, no, that's fine. I'll just keep that there. So I'm happy enough with that. I think that'll be fine. For a bit more detail on the edge highlighting, then I need to do something with this one to make it pop a little bit more. So I'm going to do another bit on the edges with, have I not got any Wildwood or whatever it's called, dark Wildwood?
It's not one of the ones at the top.
I think that's Agrax at the top. Oh, it's definitely
the
Agrax.
Middle.
And this is sepia. This is much on the camera. It doesn't look much different, but this is.
I think definitely you mix the orange in with it.
Yeah, I think
that's where it's gone.
Yeah. So I just want to pull it because it's starting to look a little. Apart from the reddish, it's starting to look a little bit more too similar for that one. So I just want to bring this one down to a quite dark. Losing the blue tack. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And now I've got to find a colour to. I want to edge highlight a bit more. I think when I did the edge highlights, I wasn't anywhere near aggressive enough. That's my whites completely separated. You probably heard the whole my headset just completely shaking then.
I can tell you're really shaking that.
Guess stick with the greenie. So because I added a bit of a reddy brown to it, it obviously takes the green down, but it's still there. I think that should be fine. Just do a test somewhere. Yeah, that'll be fine. Why is this one not sticking?
I was trying to come up with some sort of pun, but I just couldn't think of anything.
It's a sticky situation. That's the best I can do.
Plank or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure someone else will do it. We'll come up with something.
Yeah, I'm just going to check the chat. Wait.
Doesn't seem to be any shortage of puns.
So I think going back to the when we were talking about the like spear shafts, axe shafts, any sort of wooden handle, I think these are the kind of colour variations that you'd want, though, aren't they?
Yeah. I'll definitely be trying to build up a.
Yeah.
That was shocking.
Obviously, you wouldn't be worrying about the edge highlighting. Like I've seen a lot of people used to do like on like a cylinder, so like a spear shaft or something like that. They paint an edge highlight down opposite sides of it.
Yeah.
Would you bother doing that? Do you think, or
it would depend on the model and what level I wanted to take it to. Yeah, if I wanted to push it, I probably would. But you got to be careful. Like, unless it's real glossy wood, it wouldn't be reflecting. Like people are doing that, thinking about like metal and stuff like that. But
yeah, you wouldn't get a strong reflection off of it.
Unless it was sort of high polished wood, which I don't know, maybe
you
would
wouldn't
have that, but you'd imagine polishing a weapon handle would not be the best thing in the world.
No, you'd want to actually be able to grip it. Exactly. So, yeah, you don't want it to be a shiny surface or a smooth surface.
Yeah. Old school.
Just gonna have to do it with your hand.
Story of my life. Oh, come on. That was shocking.
So you're going for a much stronger highlight this time, aren't you?
Yeah, I just didn't do enough. The first time. I mean, you could argue that I've gone too much now. Especially where I've gone too thick. There's definitely too much anyway. It's just a mistake on my part going too thick. But if it's just thin, I think it's quite nice. I quite like it. I think it helps to give it sort of an aged effect. It might not actually be accurate, but it helps give it that. Gives the viewer the understanding that it's an older.
Oh, the edges have been caught as people have moved over it, or or just the elements have got to it.
Yeah.
So, viewers, if you want to see Rich paint more terrain, I've got loads still to be done. So, I'll try and find him something exciting. Just give you a whole cast.
I wouldn't want to step on Aiden's foot,
Say Chris has been doing a lot of it as well, actually.
Fair, yes, he's done a very good job.
Yeah, the two of them have been working pretty hard. Although now Aiden's lost to the wilderness. He's working with like real wood now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. He's put in the chat as well that he's happy for you to. I'll see if I can find the bit that's got part of your wrist attached, and you can sort that one out.
I wouldn't want to steal his thunder, honestly.
I don't want to put you down here, Rich. I'm not sure you could. I don't know if you've got.
I certainly wouldn't get as much finished, that's for sure. I always actually wanted to. The reason I bought the Warcry set was to paint the terrain. It was very nice. I wanted to do like a purpley, magenta, bluey thing, like it was magic. I think doing it this way would almost look better, actually.
So we've got that in the next episode. This is from Emanuele. How to paint an entire Necromunda paint set. Gang Stronghold. There we go. That's exciting.
108-hour-long episode.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can do that one, but I'll leave you to it.
Am I doing it off camera? Yes, I am. Of course I am. I'm slowly drifting closer and closer to my belly.
That's gravity, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got its own center of gravity now.
That one's starting to look. Well, no, it's not just starting. It's looking a lot better now. Mm-hmm. I was struggling with it to start with, looking quite dark, I think, but
no. Well,
now you've darkened it. It looks less dark.
That's the thing. I mean, even I was thinking about this earlier when I was looking at pictures of wood. Like, even when wood is dark, it's not actually that dark. It's a bit like skin in a way. Like it's not. It doesn't actually go dark. What am I trying to say? It just, even though in your mind it's dark, it's actually not. The value of it is not that low. Okay, just do the cracks, the little cuts, whatever they are.
I'm still loving that one on the far left.
We have a winner, do we?
It's just my humble opinion.
And it really depends on the sort of the theme of whether it's an army or just one model, like of your model, what kind of environment it's in.
So you were talking about using these as like some kind of basing material. Could this be a subject for a future video? Could we maybe get a duel going on the...
That'd be quite cool, wouldn't it? Yeah.
And then like one of the other ones, a guy stood in a...
I'll have to look at actually what this bit goes on in terms of the kit, if it goes into a little standalone thing or if you just have that on its own.
I think that it depends on... I think the 3 pieces you've got there could all be from the bell tower.
That's what I was thinking about.
But the one in your hand might not be. But the other 2, I think, are definitely from the bell tower. But there's a couple of pieces which are like bridges, but I think the ends of them are a bit more spiky. Like the planks go the other way almost.
There wasn't many. I think these were the only sort of proper like groups of planks apart from the stairs.
I'm sure there's some that are like they're more like tree trunks tied together.
Yeah. Yeah, there was definitely some like them, but they were the way they were sculpted. They were really really knobbly. So I didn't really want to do them.
Yeah. Like a knick-knack.
Yeah, yeah, just yeah, exactly. I've got a dry tip. There we go. So just a bit of paint on the end had dried off, so it was stopping the paint from flowing as easily. I pretty much got all of that in the middle, inside the crack, rather than on the edge.
So I think the main reason I'm not that keen on the middle one is because it's reminded me of the fact that I need to repaint my garden at some point. Kind of that loosely that colour. So yeah, guilt.
Might take a while with one of these brushes.
Yeah, I'm not going to edge highlight.
Bit of contrast on it, man.
Contrast could be the answer.
Yeah,
it would actually be quite fun to do something like that, but with
your idea of fun and my idea of fun are two different things, I think.
The fact that I haven't done it yet shows that.
Well, the last 2 times my fence has been painted, it was done by my mother-in-law. So
you can get like spray guns for it now quite easily. They're kind of attached to attached to something. Okay. I just love the color of that one. What are you thinking?
Pale blue.
Trying not to. Ooh. You do want to get the blue in on this one, don't you?
It's there already.
Yeah, I know, but you're like you're pushing it.
Yeah. So I just added some of the orange to take the blue again down. I need to go. I'm running out of space on my wet palette. That's actually tissue there. I need to go quite a bit lighter because it's.
Maybe if you push the onions and courgette out the way, you'll make more space.
It's a bit too runny, but so these planks are a little bit more uniform, so I don't need to worry as much about trying to create texture on it.
See that? Yeah, it definitely looks more like a wooden porch or something like that, doesn't it? You know that the planks are all kind of similar size. So we were talking, obviously, next. So we're actually moving to a fortnightly live streams just to make it a bit easier to fit in with life. As Rich and I both still work during lockdown and everything, so like we said, we're going to hopefully do more on the Eidolon next week. You were talking to me about the next stream. You're potentially talking about the following stream after that of maybe doing flesh.
Yeah.
What sort of fleshes would you be thinking? Like natural flesh or alien flesh, or I suppose it doesn't matter what color it is. It's all about the technique.
Yeah. I don't know really. It's just I think somebody mentioned something in the chat about flesh, and it's one of the things that I like to paint the most. There's a lot of what's the right word? Not theory, but a lot of things involved to make flesh actually look like flesh.
You have a lot of color, don't you?
Yeah, a lot of color, and it's also the way you control where the colors go and how it behaves. Because one of the reasons skin's fun to paint is it's translucent, like it lets the light shine through it, and it hits all the blood vessels and muscles and whatnot that are underneath. So it's you really can play with color. the only thing about skin is it needs to be smooth. You need to have the transitions need to be good. So normally, if I'm doing a big chunk of skin, I'll be base coating it with my lightest color and then glazing down from there. So similar to what we've done here, I suppose, in a way, except it's a bit more controlled because I'm not going for as much.
You kind of deliberately going a bit rough here and there, aren't you, as well?
Yeah, here I'm deliberately sort of going. I'm not really going in any particular direction in terms of where the variation is or stuff like that. Whereas on skin, you're always moving towards away from the light. So you can see it, like you don't see the blue in there, but it is definitely there. And if I just used like a lighter variation of that, it would just not quite pop to the same degree. It wouldn't catch the eye to the same degree. And it's just little things like that that make the difference, Just playing with color all the time. And there's no harm in like trying a color, thinking, yeah, that doesn't work at all, and just going over it again. It's a bit more difficult when you're doing things like this because everything is designed to show through what's underneath.
So if you'd made a big mistake, would you just have to start again with something?
Yeah, as I say, it depends. I mean, obviously, in some ways, so because I'm doing everything that is supposed to be translucent, if I go over it again, it's not going to be the end of the world because it shouldn't show up as strong. But do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, but let's say you put the wrong paint on and you had completely the wrong color on there. What would you just make it part of the model somehow?
Probably at this stage, yeah. It would depend. Like if I picked up some of this red by mistake, proper pure acrylic base paint really, and put it on, I'd have to start from the beginning. Like apart from trying to wash it off, I couldn't hide that into this. I'd have to start over. But if I just picked up some Agrax when I wanted, I don't know, some of the orange stuff,
move it out.
It just becomes part of it. So I'm not going to go inside the cracks because they stand out quite enough, but I do need to edge highlight them a little bit to make them seem a little bit deeper and make them pop. Does anyone have any questions so far?
I think it's all just about you painting all my terrain for me, actually. So, which is good. I've recently got some more in, actually. Yeah, so completely different subject. Yeah. Painting MDF terrain.
Yeah.
Would you try and add texture to it with like a grit paint, or does it? I guess it depends on the actual.
It depends, like what I wanted. Like
that's actually painting wood to look like something else instead of the other way around.
I mean, MDF is quite. I mean, it's a little bit of powdery, but it's generally quite smooth, no?
But it can be quite a little bit fibrous.
Yeah,
and
that's
what I mean. Soak the paint in a little bit,
But then you seal it first, no?
Yes, I guess so. Yeah.
If it's still like, I don't know. To be fair, I haven't done too much MDF, but if I was going to do it, I would water down polyfiller over it to prime it, but it also will leave quite a smooth finish. So then I could do it how I want. Now, I'm not sure in terms of textured paint or anything like that. It would depend on what I was going for. Like if I was doing, say, Star Wars Legion and I was doing Tatooine, then I definitely would, because all the buildings are.
It's funny you say that. I do have a load of green terrain to paint. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I mean, to be fair, I've thought about that in the past, and I've seen it in the shops. You can get like a textured spray paint.
Yeah, I think
bang on for that.
I think I'm sure GW used to do one maybe like 10 years ago. They did one. It was like ogre flesh or something like that, and it was like a kind of grey greeny color. because like old ogres weren't flesh like they weren't like a normal flesh color.
Yeah.
They were like a kind of grey. It was, I don't know. It's just I'm not sure what it was meant to be, really.
Undead, maybe?
No, kind of. I don't know. I don't know if it was meant to represent an actual human skin tone or not. I couldn't really tell. Because it did. If it was, it didn't achieve it. Okay. But, I'm sure they brought out a spray that had like grit in it. And I know that obviously you can get loads of like textured sprays for if you're spraying a work surface or something like that, you know. I don't know if those would be a bit heavy for terrain, but yeah.
I don't know. I've never used them. I've seen them. People say they've used them in groups and that on Facebook and social media. To me, it looks to work quite well. But it depends. What again? I don't. It really depends on if I wanted the texture there or not. I think with terrain, I definitely wouldn't want to be painting texture on.
No,
because it's just too big and too much hassle. I'll try and put it on if I needed it, whether it was scratches or grit or whatnot. I kind of think I really should finish these actual bits of scenery, shouldn't I?
What do you mean? All of it?
Yeah, like the war cry, whatever these bit go on to. Except I've done in three different chunks of wood.
I didn't want to say it, but if they were on the same piece of terrain, it's going to look a bit weird.
It's an orc terrain.
Yeah, it's orcs. What they've done is orcs have got hold of terrain, and they've all mixed it together to make one piece of terrain instead of multiple different ones. There you go. There's the blag. Just paint a bit of I don't know, orc glyph on like the wall.
I was just thinking I should try and make this bit here because it's kind of raised and slightly more manufactured plane to try and make it look like as if it's had paint on it and chipped off, but I don't want to ruin it. I've not really done too much of that kind of thing. I've always, whenever I wanted to chip paint off, I've always done it the other way and actually put the paint on and then chipped it off, rather than painting on chip paint.
I guess it's almost like a dry brush in that you're only targeting the raised.
Yeah.
No, it would chip off the raised areas. I don't know. Would it chip off the raised areas first? It would, wouldn't it?
Normally, yeah.
Or are you talking like more of like a peel?
Yeah, a bit both, really. I don't think I'm going to do it because I think
I'd say it's a bit extreme thing to try and figure out how to do it right now. I think for me, with these different pieces, it would be cool to see you do, depending on the size of them, either like little mini dioramas or jewels or just like single characters, stuff like that. But have them. You've done models that will go with that wood, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The palette that you choose and everything like that.
Okay. This guy is painted by my son, not me. There we go, look at that. Made for it.
That looks pretty good.
To be fair, I did the skin tone underneath and he went over the top with everything else.
Yeah.
I think
that's one of the Warcry models, isn't it?
Yeah. He was in the box there. I think this thing is just a little bit too big, too small to have two models on.
It's not quite long enough, is it?
Yeah. We could do like I don't know why this has popped in my head. From Star Wars, Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi on the lava world. I don't know why these reminded me of that, but
you are the chosen one.
I have the high ground.
I've never understood that high ground bit. He's a Jedi or a Sith or whatever he is. Why does he need to jump over the top of him? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just like I can do it. You can't stop me.
Exactly, I can do it. That's the point of doing it, isn't it? You can do it.
And like, why didn't he just like parry him in midair as Anakin? It's just ridiculous. It's just like it was an amazing fight, and then the end of it's just like doesn't make sense at all.
They needed a way for Obi-Wan to win, though, didn't they? And to show that he won because of his.
They should have just made him beat him, not like do some
how when he's Anakin Skywalker And
Yeah, but
Obi-Wan's
Anakin Skywalker is super powerful, and he's like the best pilot in the galaxy. But he's not necessarily the best with the lightsaber. I think they made a mistake with that. Like if you watch A New Hope, Obi-Wan's like saying he was the most skilled starfighter he's ever seen, or whatever like that. But he doesn't say he's the best swordsman.
No, but I don't know. I think they were trying to show like Obi-Wan won because of his tactical acumen and his experience as a Jedi, rather than Anakin lost because of his arrogance. I suppose
like 2 foot higher than him.
no, but he was. Oh, that's not the right color. He was there because of his tactical acumen and his battle awareness. Or I don't know what the right words are. That was the way I always thought of it. I wanted to try and make the edges pop a bit more, but I don't think I need to when I look at it now. But when I compare it with the other two,
I find the red not as exciting as the other two to look at.
Yeah, it's just not as much contrast to it. Needs to go a little bit more. So. I don't think the other colour shows through as quite as much as it does on the other two. I think the red I used overpowered it a little bit.
So what are we thinking? Are we thinking
Kill or cure?
Oh, apparently he said he could be as good as Yoda if he practiced.
Who? Oh, he does. He says something like that. You'd be as good as No, if you practiced your wit or something, isn't it? He says that if you practiced your wit as much as your swordmanship.
Oh,
you'd master.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, that's what Obi-Wan says to Anakin, isn't it? Yeah. What's that? Episode 2. We'll just guess what you're doing at the moment, yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking too much. I'm trying, to bring some of the colour back by just trying to find my the way.
This is the way. Just continuing some Star Wars quotes.
Yeah, this has become a bit more Star Warsy, isn't it? We'll have to do a Legion model.
Oh, I think one of the newer ones.
I've got Boba Fett somewhere.
The newer models are all plastic, I think.
Are they? I haven't.
Instead of the Restic, yeah. I'm not sure on the. I think most of the Empire, most of the Rebel stuff, still that kind of resin plastic stuff. But there's a couple of Cassian Andor and I can never remember the robot's name. K2SA.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, they're both plastic. The new Luke special edition model was plastic.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. That's the Hoth one, isn't it?
Yeah, he's in West Flight Suit. Yeah. And I think all of the clone stuff and all of the droid stuff's plastic. So, yeah. I'm trying to think what would be a good model to do that would be quite varied in.
Do Darth Vader and OSL on the lightsaber.
I do have an unpainted Darth Vader, actually.
So do I. I know mine's painted.
Yeah, you've already done yours. Yeah. We did that on a little video we did.
Yeah, somewhere.
Was that in Discord?
Must have been, I think.
What's that?
Definitely must have been
YouTube. This would have been nearly a year ago, I think we did that.
Yeah.
6 months, something like that. Before YouTube was our thing. So I've got an Emperor model somewhere as well.
I saw.
It'd be quite interesting. I think he's got the lightning coming out of his hands.
Oh, really?
Or does he not? Has he got his hands up?
My one, he's got one finger out on the one that I had, and he's holding a walking stick in the other one.
I think I'm getting mixed up with a different model. How about if we got you a Mandalorian model? Everyone loves the Mandalorian. And he's in full Beskar, and you do it like Chrome. There we go.
Ugh.
That'd be.
I'd love to do Chrome one day, but that's not going to be something I'm going to do on a live stream. Because I suspect my first few attempts would not work.
Turn your mic off, wouldn't we?
I think it would be, I don't know, I'm waiting for Silver Surfer for that, anyway. When he comes out for Legion, then it will be, not Legion.
We could get a Marvel model going again, couldn't we? Did you finish the 3 guys that you did the cloaks on?
No.
Oh.
No. I haven't even, I was going to say I haven't started on my mutants yet, but I've done Sabretooth. So. It's 1 out of 4.
Oh, we got a question in the chat from Matt Wiley, who was leaving, but he stayed. Apparently it was Clone Wars the quote came from. But what's your paintbrush called?
Which one? Bob.
I guess the one you had in your hand. Bob.
So these 2 are Winsor Newton. Series 7s you want, not the miniature ones. The normal ones, watercolor brushes. Size 1 and a size 2. This I don't know. I bought from. Sorry.
The miniature ones, are they short heads?
Yeah, they're horrible. Yeah.
Okay.
Because these became really popular within miniature painters. So I'm assuming Winsor Newton saw a gap in the market there and said, "Let's call them miniatures." And they must want smaller brushes because they're miniature. They're painted miniatures. And the trouble is that the reason these are good is because they got the fat belly, but the point tip, they hold so much water and so much paint. That you can really control the flow really well while still having a point. So the miniature one, you can't hold enough water to do anything worthwhile. This is whatever it is, Daily and Rowney, flat shader. Flat brushes are really good for big panels like this and for doing things with washes.
Does it have a name, or do you just call it flat brush?
Shader simply. It's a flathead.
Okay.
Flat.
No, I meant, have you named it?
Oh, no. He's bent as well. Look at that. These are really cheap brushes. I bought them from the range for, I don't know. I bought them for the kids to play about with when they wanted to paint. They're really, cheap and nasty. And this I don't know. This is a makeup brush I bought for like £1, or I think I bought a set of 3 for £1 in one of the supermarkets. This one I don't know. I nicked out of my wife's bag.
That was back in your days when you were a big Kiss fan, yeah?
A big what?
Kiss fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so back to our wood. Are you pretty happy with that?
I think so. I mean, this one, it does need a bit more edge highlighting, to be honest, but I'm struggling to find a colour with what I've got here that would work.
Yeah. I think it doesn't have quite the definition of the other 2, does it?
No.
I don't know whether that's just because of the colour as well, though.
It is. I've lost the variation in the colour, so I've lost the contrast. But I also haven't, like, if you compare the difference in the edges, and even on this one, like that's clearly a full step in value down. This is not as much. Whether that can be rectified remains to be seen. Just a bit of a lazy blend there, just with the just going along the transition. Also had parallel, not parallel to it, opposite to it, perpendicular. Isn't it? Perpendicular. So it won't be as smooth, but it will tell me if it's the right way to go. I think I'd have to go quite dark to get that, because I've gone too dark in the middle. If you compare the darkness.
It's smaller as well. It's not, because it's not as wide. Especially on the one on the left, you've got a very large light area.
Yeah.
you know. Whereas with this one, it's quite small. So yeah, it looks good. My favourite's still the one on the left. I don't know what it is about it. It's just the
I wonder
colour
what you'd think if
I'll
I
tell you
painted
what,
that one in
tell you
that
what,
tone and that one in that tone. If you know
I
what I mean.
think it's because I've seen a lot of wood that looks like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like natural weathered wood that hasn't been treated or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that us done for the evening, Rich? Or
I
do you
think
have
so. I'm
anything
running
else
out of stuff to do apart from trying to get this one to look better.
Yeah, you'd maybe just keep pushing it a little
Just
bit.
keep pushing it more, lighting the middles, and then make the edges. Do the edge. I'd have to do the edges again because I've almost lost them already. Just going over it. Does anyone have any questions about what we've done today, or anything?
I will tell you in a second. I can hear. Maybe I can hear some keyboards being typed on. I'm not sure. Who knows? It could just be the tinnitus again. Nothing jumping up yet. So
Okay.
let's chat about this. So, do you have the Eidolon to hand there?
Ish. Just if I knock anything over or put anything over. There's been no painting since the last. No painting at all, apart from walls in my house. Which wasn't. We had someone in. We had someone in. My wife gave up waiting for me.
I've been taking too much of your time up. Shouldn't have stabbed yourself on my terrain, mate. You've been able to have fun.
So that's it's the same as before.
Just that leg.
I can't remember if I did that on the stream. The little glaze on the bottom, just I think to show.
I think you did it on like half of the foot.
Yeah. So I did. Yeah, that's what I'm. So to go for the other final color scheme, I'm still a bit concerned about it blending into the waves like that. But I'm hoping if I push the contrast enough, it will jump out by itself, and I can kind of with this.
I still really like that kind of corally, pinky kind of.
Yeah, no, I think that was a good show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch a video again to remember what colors I used to match. I should be able to match the metal. I'm happy enough with that, but I can't remember how I did that coral. It looks like a glazed in ink over ivory or something, but
yes, it was many days ago. I can't remember.
Jeez, I've got yellow paint everywhere.
Is that just from your pot? Is it?
No, I don't know what I did. I think it was when the pot exploded on me, didn't it? Yeah, that's right.
That's right. So we'll be back in 2 weeks doing more on that, and potentially doing a flesh video 2 weeks after that. But if there is any other things that people want to see, just get in touch.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We've got loads of WhatsApp chats. We've got a Discord channel with loads of different chats going in there, and there's usually people in Hangouts talking to each other and things like that at various times of the day. I'll be in the Discord on Saturday watching the new preview. So if anyone wants to jump in and chat to us, just jump in our Discord and we can all be chatting away over the voices of whoever's telling us about stuff. And obviously, if you really want to be able to support us, follow us, like us, share it about, subscribe, etc. But also, you can see our website link, gamesbunker.co.uk. Come along and buy stuff to try and help support the community that we've got. And fingers crossed, we'll be gaming in the not too distant future. So we might be able to do some battle report videos and stuff at some point as well.
Excellent.
But otherwise, thanks very much, Rich. Really nice seeing you. Never give up on that middle one. You love it, don't you?
We'll get there. It'll be your favourite one before I'm finished.
Oh, you say that, but it's a lot of work needed.
Thanks.
Just because I really like the other one. See you all again soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Cheers.